By Thor and all the gods of Valhalla, what sorcery is this? Greetings, mortals of the future, children of glowing screens and invisible voices. I am Ragnar Lodbrok, son of Sigurd, feared on the seas, praised in sagas, conqueror of lands and hearts. I've invaded kingdoms, defied kings, tamed tempests with a glance, and survived marriages, which frankly was the worst part. Yet nothing prepared me for this abomination of the modern age called GPS. A name that sounds like an elven spell or a misunderstanding among runes. They say this contraption guides you through paths without needing to look at the sun, the stars, or even asking an old witch by the roadside. By Odin, even a well-trained raven could do the same, and with more elegance, I might add. But lo, this magic box, the one that records me with soulless eyes and shows me to the living of the future, revealed that nowadays no one gets lost. A device the size of an amulet, whispering routes with the voice of an enchanted maiden, saying, "Turn right in 200 meters." 200 meters? What witchcraft is this, measuring distances with such precision? In my time, the measure was 2 shouts away, or when the third man collapses from exhaustion. And more. I was told that if you take a wrong turn, the artifact doesn't shout, doesn't punish, doesn't cast you into the sea. It simply recalculates. Recalculates. The audacity. In my day, recalculating meant rebuilding the ship, sacrificing 2 goats, and begging forgiveness from a monk you'd just kidnapped. But I confess, I'm intrigued. And so, noble viewer of the age of artificial lights and talking refrigerators, I invite you to join me on this delirious journey. Together, we'll uncover how this GPS, the perverse guide of sagas as I prefer to call it, works, and how it would fare on a true Viking expedition. And before a digital god disconnects you, raise your thumb in honor of good content and subscribe to this channel. Not for me, for I already drink mead alongside heroes, but for you, so you don't perish lost in your own village due to a lack of signal. Let the journey begin. In the old days, when ships were made of oak, men of courage and maps, well, they were rumors scribbled with charcoal on goat hides. Getting lost was part of the glory. The honor of sailing for 3 months straight, arriving nowhere, declaring war anyway, and calling it a conquest. But you, O beings of modernity, have an oracle in your pocket, an enchanted staff that points the way, avoids traffic jams, whatever those are, and even shows nearby taverns, called restaurants by you, with ratings given by other bored warriors. Imagine the scene. I, Ragnar Lodbrok, in the middle of the North Sea, facing waves that would make a giant wet himself in fear. And then, suddenly, I hear an enchanted voice saying, "The next invasion is in 300 meters. Caution, longboat traffic ahead." By Thor, that's humiliating. In my time, the only guidance came from the gods, the stars, or the drunkest man on the ship, who always swore he knew where we were, and invariably led us straight to a nest of angry monks. And now they tell me no one gets lost anymore. How dare they? Getting lost is noble. It's in that glorious mistake that you find adventure, plunder, the unexpected. If Leif Erikson had a GPS, he'd have discovered the nearest coffee shop and gone home before dinner. Besides, why trust a voice that doesn't bleed? A voice without a beard, without the smell of fish, without the breath of mead.
That's against the natural order of things. But fine, perhaps I'm being harsh. Maybe this GPS has some use beyond humiliating the ancient art of navigation by intuition and stubbornness. Let's investigate further. And if there's any sorcery involved, well, I've fought worse creatures than a spying satellite in the sky. For now, if you're enjoying this confused epic, like this video, or I swear by Mjolnir's hammers that I'll mess with your GPS just for fun.
Now pay attention, you who wear pants without leather and call raw meat a snack. It's time to unravel the greatest mystery of this modern artifact, the so-called satellites. According to digital scribes, the GPS works with the help of over 30 satellites orbiting the Earth. Orbiting, like magical ravens flying endlessly, watching everything, seeing all paths, and apparently even your secret sins. In my time, the only thing orbiting was the axe of death around a Saxon's head, and with far less elegance, I might add. 30-odd metallic ravens launched into the sky by engineers who, from what I've seen, are like blacksmiths, but without muscles and with more coffee. They control the paths of all mortals like little metal gods. I'd never trust something that went to the sky and never came back drunk on glory. And what scares me most, yes, a Viking can be scared, by my honor, is that these metallic ravens always know where you are, even if you're hiding, even if you're still, even if you're doing things your grandmother wouldn't approve of. It's as if Heimdall, the guardian of the Bifrost Bridge, had been replaced by a piece of aluminum with Wi-Fi. In my era, to know where someone was, we sent a spy. Today, just press a button, and there's the poor soul's location blinking on a map with more colors than a ceremonial shield. And of course, there's the signal that must be strong. Oh, what we wouldn't give for a strong signal in the northern storms. But no, if a cloud dares pass in the modern sky, the GPS loses its power and cries, "No connection." Know what we shouted when the sky clouded over? "Prepare to die." That was efficient communication. Oh, strange times when a man needs 20 satellites to go to the bakery. But let's move on, for I still want to find out if this GPS can guide an army with the same firmness it would a cart full of supplies. And you, laughing at my ancestral perplexity, share this video with other couch warriors, just as you'd share a barrel of mead with gusto and no shame. Ah, the sweet sound of uncertainty. The gentle scent of, I think it's that way. In my time, my dears, setting out on a journey was an act of faith, courage, and, of course, mild despair. There were only 3 certainties. 1, the sea would be freezing. 2, someone would vomit on the boat. And no one, absolutely no one, had any idea where, by Odin, we'd end up. Today you have this GPS that tells you how many steps are left to find the nearest bathroom. I once heard a traveler from the future complain because the route was 5 minutes longer than usual. 5 minutes! I lost 2 winters trying to find Scotland, and when I did, it was Ireland. And what of these voices guiding the way? A calm, unhurried voice that tells you to turn left as if offering warm bread on a quiet morning. If only my loyal warrior Floki were like that. But no, Floki would yell, "Turn left or we die!" and still turn right just to see what happened.
And these modern maps. My shield had more detail than these screen maps. You call that navigation? I call it visual witchcraft. A glowing paper that changes on its own, with blue trails adjusting like magic. In my time, if a map changed by itself, it was a sign of a curse, and someone ended up burned, probably the map. But don't misunderstand me, O inhabitants of the age of invisible cables. This GPS has its charms, especially when it tells me where the nearest tavern is, with photos, hours, and the rating of a fellow called Dragonslayer92. That one seems to know his mead, apparently. But where's the mystery? Where's the thrill in your gut from not knowing if you'll find a city or a giant angry bear? Navigating in the past was a marriage to chance. Today, it's a fling with a talking screen. Oh, the sweet decadence of modern times. Stay with me, for there are more sorceries to explore. And if this video made you smile like a drunken warrior at sunset, leave your like and don't be stingy. Share it with your clan brothers or couch brothers.
Recalculating route. That modern phrase that sounds like music to a coward's ears and a personal insult to a warrior. In my days of glory, when the gods still whispered in the winds and battles smelled of blood and leaks, taking a wrong path wasn't an inconvenience. It was fate. If we missed the fjord, we conquered a different village. If we turned left instead of right, well, we discovered a new religion. Sometimes by force, sometimes with anthropological curiosity, depending on the chief's mood. But today, if someone takes the wrong exit on the road, the GPS sighs, pauses like an irritated monk, and then announces, with the voice of a priest who doesn't drink, recalculating route. Recalculating? In my time, that was called accepting the mistake as a divine sign and conquering whatever appeared next. The beauty lies there, noble viewers of the magic box. The GPS gives you a second chance. You err, it forgives. You disobey, it tries another path. It's practically a digital bishop with infinite patience. If I'd had one of these on my expeditions, I'd have invaded Constantinople by mistake. But I confess, I admire this merciful modernity. Who'd have thought technology would create something so understanding? In my time, if someone took a wrong turn, they were tied to the ship's mast as punishment. Today, they just hear, "Turn right as soon as possible," in a maternal tone. And what absurd trust people place in it. They follow the machine as if it were a seer in a golden robe. I once saw a merchant follow the GPS straight into a lake. A lake! And what did he say afterward? But it told me to turn. Oh, humanity. Once feared for its cunning, now guided by a talking square with a colorful map. But let's carry on. I still want to know if this contraption could guide a desperate escape, or if it paused to recalculate while arrows whiz through the air. And you, children of the touchscreen, if you find amusement in my ancestral bewilderment, let your hands not tremble. Leave a comment. Yes, a comment worthy of being carved into the digital stones of YouTube.
By Thor and all the celestial hammers, you kneel before a small glowing square and call it wisdom? I say, this GPS is no mere tool. It's the new oracle of your times. An electronic priest without a beard or the smell of dried fish that knows all the roads, even those that don't yet exist. In my time, if someone claimed there was an artifact capable of predicting paths with precision, avoiding traffic, and calculating arrival times, that someone would be revered as a shaman
or thrown into the sea with stones in their pockets. It all depended on the clan's mood. And now you place this magic box on the glass of your metal cart, and it says, "Turn left in 300 meters." How does it know where left is? How does it measure meters without fingers? Enchantment, I say. Pure and dangerous enchantment. But there's something even more astonishing. It predicts traffic. In my time, traffic was an ox blocking the path, or an old fisherman napping with an oar in hand. Today, you call it congestion, a collective suffering ritual where hundreds of souls gather to go nowhere while listening to songs about freedom. And the GPS saves you from it. It sees the lines before they form. It diverts you from dangers like a silver seer. It's the Odin of asphalt, the Heimdall of urban routes. But do you trust this electronic oracle too much? What if one day it decides to lead you all to the abyss, and you, faithful devotees, obey without hesitation? Recalculating route to the end of times, and off you go, happily with Wi-Fi. By my honor, if I'd had one of these crossing to Brittany, I'd have arrived sober, or at least with fewer scars. But remember, even the GPS fails, like the gods on a hungover day. And in those moments, you're left with the old art of asking the mustachioed man on the corner, who, by the way, might also be lost. If this video brought you laughter, reflection, or at least a slight shake in your faith in this enchanted technology, press the like button like you'd drive an axe into an enemy's shield. Share this saga with your digital era brothers, and subscribe by Odin, for more truths will come, and maybe a few well-told lies.
Ah, proceed straight ahead, the favorite phrase of that ethereal GPS voice. It tells you with sweetness what every warrior wants to hear, that you're on the right path, that destiny awaits just beyond the roundabout of hope. But let me tell you, with all the sincerity of one who's sacked 3 continents, that phrase is a trap. In my time, no one said, "Proceed straight ahead" so lightly. If someone told you that in the middle of a forest, it was because there were bears, or traps, or an arranged marriage, which, frankly, was worse than bears. Today, this machine full of blinking lights tells you to proceed with blind confidence. And you, obedient as drunken squires, advance through unknown avenues, dark tunnels, and alleys where even ravens dare not land. The GPS gives you the sweet illusion of control. It says, "You'll arrive in 22 minutes." What absurd precision! Even the gods don't know with such clarity when the next storm will hit. And if it rains? If a camel gets stuck on the expressway? If someone stops their car to dance to tribal music? None of that is foreseen. But you proceed straight ahead, as if destiny were etched in digital runes. And note well, the GPS rarely says, "Go back home." No, it always pushes you forward, onward, like a chief who hates you, but disguises it with cheap motivation. Deep down, the GPS doesn't want you to arrive. It wants you to trust. It feeds your hope like a fisherman feeds cod, only to fry it later. But oh, if we'd had this on our long voyages, how many wars would have been avoided? Or started on the wrong path. Imagine, in 1,000 meters, invade the enemy kingdom, prepare for battle. Oh, beautiful modernity, you offer maps without mystery, journeys without poetry, and destinations without glory. But I understand you. Sometimes it's nice not to think, just to follow. And if these words made you laugh, think,
or recalculate the course of your soul, deign to like this work. Comment as your elders would carve on stone, and share with your allies of this era. Let's proceed straight ahead, even if it's to the wrong side, as long as there's Wi-Fi.
And now, dear viewers of this magic box, we reach the end of this journey through the roads of time and modernity. A journey that, by the way, would have been much shorter with one of these modern GPS devices. By my honor, we'd have saved a lot of time and spilled ale. But stay sharp. This GPS isn't just a servant of the road. It's a lord of destiny. A lord that guides you, but can also lose you, not in geography, but in spirit. For where the path was once an adventure, today it's a pre-molded script, a bland cake recipe. When a man of my time sailed the unknown sea, he listened to the stars, felt the wind, read the waves, and his own heart. Today, you stare at a glowing square and let it dictate your life. Oh, the irony! The man who once tamed the sea and land now surrenders to the voice of an invisible messenger. So, in the name of the gods and men who dared defy the unknown, I say, use this magic wisely. Don't let yourselves be enslaved by the tireless, ever-correct voice, or, at least, a voice that doesn't err without recalculating. And to conclude this technological odyssey, I invite you, noble viewers, to wield your mouse and finger with bravery. Like this tale, comment with the fury of a berserker, and share with your brothers and sisters of this future that bewilders me. For adventure, whether with a sword or a GPS signal, is always in your hands. Until the next saga, and may Odin guide your clicks.